Hello everyone, my name is Novi Andriany Teguh, and today I will present a review titled Shedding Light on Deep-Sea Biodiversity, a highly vulnerable habitat in the face of anthropogenic change. This presentation is based on the review paper by Paulus in 2021, published in Frontiers in Marine Science. The deep sea is the largest habitat on Earth, yet it remains one of the least explored and most poorly understood ecosystems. At the same time, it is increasingly exposed to human activities such as mining, fishing, and climate change. In this presentation, I will introduce what the deep sea is, explain why its biodiversity is surprisingly high, describe the main deep sea environments, discuss how scientists study biodiversity in such extreme conditions, and finally highlight the major threats and conservation challenges facing the deep sea. And this slide outlines the structure of the presentation. First, I will introduce the concept of the deep sea biodiversity and its ecological importance. Then I will describe the different types of deep sea environment, which vary greatly in physical and biological conditions. Next, I will explain the main methods used to assess biodiversity in the deep sea, including both traditional sampling and modern techniques. After that, I will discuss why biodiversity in the deep sea is so high despite extreme conditions. Finally, I will focus on human impacts, conservation strategies, and key knowledge gaps before concluding with the main takeaways from the review. The deep sea is generally defined as ocean waters deeper than 200 meters, where sunlight becomes insufficient for photosynthesis. As a result, primary production is extremely limited. In terms of scale, about 50% of Earth's surface lies deeper than 3,000 meters, making the deep ocean is the largest habitat on the planet. Environmental conditions in the deep sea are extreme, characterized by high pressure, low temperature, and complete darkness. Historically, scientists believed that life could not exist at great depths. In the 19th century, Edward Forbes proposed the azoic hypothesis, suggesting that no life existed below 550 meters. However, later deep sea expeditions disproved this idea, revealing diverse and thriving ecosystems even at the greatest depths. Despite its harsh conditions, the deep sea is a major biodiversity hotspot. Many species are uniquely adapted to darkness, cold temperatures, and extreme pressure. Deep sea biodiversity plays an essential role in global ecological process, including nutrients recycling and long-term carbon storage, which are critical for regulating Earth's climate. In addition, deep sea habitats such as cold water corals provide nursery and refuge area for many species. Beyond ecological importance, deep sea organisms also have significant biotechnological potential. For example, through enzymes that function under high pressure and low temperature, these features make deep sea biodiversity both ecologically and economically valuable. This figure illustrates the major environments that characterize the deep sea. The most widespread habitat is the abyssal plain, which is vast, cold, and generally food limited, yet surprisingly diverse. Hydrothermal vents, typically found along mid-ocean ridge, host chemosynthetic communities that rely on chemical energy rather than sunlight and show high level of endemism. Seamounts are underwater volcanic mountains that enhance local productivity through upwelling and often support coral communities. Continental margins are highly heterogeneous and tend to exhibit high biodiversity. Finally, huddle zones and oxygen minimum zones represents the most extreme environments in terms of depth and oxygen availability. The ocean can also be divided into zones based on depth. The mesopelagic zone, ranging for 200 to 1,000 meters, is often called twilight zone. Some light still penetrates this layer, but it is insufficient for photosynthesis. As a result, organisms rely heavily on organic matters sinking from surface waters. This zone represents a transition between surface and deep sea environments. with increasing pressures and decreasing temperature. It hosts diverse microorganisms and fish species and plays a key role in vertical carbon transport through processes such as diel vertical migration. Below the mesopelagic zone lies the bathypelagic zones, extending from 1,000 to 2,000 meters. This zone is completely dark, cold, and under high pressure, with relatively low biomass but notable biodiversity. Even deeper are the abyssopelagic and hadopelagic zones, which includes ocean trenches such as Mariana Trench. These environments experience extreme pressures and near freezing temperature. Despite this harsh condition, life persists, often supported by organic matter sinking from above or by localized sources such as hydrothermal activity. Studying biodiversity in the deep sea presents several major challenges. First, cost is a significant barrier as deep sea research requires specialized vessels, equipment, and trained personnel. Second, accessibility is limited by extreme pressure, cold temperatures, and darkness. Third, the sampling is often spatially limited, raising concerns about representatives since small study areas may not capture the true biodiversity in vast deep sea habitats. These challenges have historically slowed progress in deep sea ecological research. Traditional sampling methods include nets, straw, dredges, and cores, which can collect organisms and sediments but may disturb fragile habitats. Modern technologies have greatly improved deep sea research. ROV, HOV, and AUVs allow precise observation and sampling with minimal disturbance. Landers enable long-term monitoring using cameras and sensors placed on the seafloor. In addition, genetic approaches such as DNA and environmental DNA analysis can detect species from genetic traces in water sample, revealing biodiversity that might otherwise remain unseen. These are the methods to study deep sea biodiversity. And why biodiversity is so high in the deep sea? So one reason for high deep sea biodiversity is habitat heterogeneity. The seafloor forms a mosaic of microhabitats, including coral mounds, fans, whale falls, and soft sediments. Each of these habitats provides unique physical and chemical conditions, promoting specialization and species coexistence. In addition, moderate disturbance such as landslider or earthquakes prevent competitive exclusion by dominant species. Disturbance create new species for recolonization, which help maintain high level of diversity. Other key factor is resource stability and variability. Organic matter input from surface waters can be steady or episodic, creating contrasting ecological conditions. Stable input supports long-term diversity, while episodic food sources favor opportunistic species. Larval dispersal also plays an important role. Many deep sea species have larvae capable of long distance transport, connecting distant populations. At the same time, barriers such as oxygen minimum zones can promote isolation and speciation. The deep sea is increasingly affected by both indirect and direct human impacts. Climate change alters ocean circulation, increases seawater temperature, causes acidification, and changes oxygen level, all of which affect deep sea habitats. Direct impacts including overfishing, oil and gas extraction, and especially deep sea mining, which can cause sediment disturbance, habitat destruction, and biodiversity loss. This pressure raises serious concerns about the long-term sustainability of deep sea ecosystem. This figure shows the expansion of fisheries into deeper waters over recent decades. In the Europe and globally, fishing activities have progressively reached depths up to 1,500 meters. As shallow water fish stocks decline, Fishing pressure shifts deeper and exposing slow-growing and long-lived deep-sea species to overexploitation. These species often have low reproductive rates, making recovery from disturbance extremely slow and increasing the risk of irreversible biodiversity loss. Deep sea mining poses one of the most significant emerging threats. As shown in this slide, mining activities causes both direct and indirect impacts, including habitat removal, sediment plumes, and chemical pollution. Sediment plumes can spread over large areas, smothering benthic organisms and altering ecosystem process far beyond the mining site itself. According to Niner and Ecology, achieving no net loss of biodiversity through deep sea mining is likely unrealistic given current scientific knowledge. Conservation strategies for the deep sea emphasize the mitigation hierarchy, which prioritize avoidance, minimization, and remediation of the impacts. The marine protected area, such as no-take zones, are critical tools for safeguarding vulnerable habitats. The precautionary principle is especially important given the high uncertainty and slow recovery rates of deep sea ecosystem. Increasing public awareness and recognizing the economic value of the deep sea ecosystem surface are also essential for effective management. And this is the ecosystem services of the deep sea as discussed in the Armstrong and College and UNEP. Despite growing research efforts, major knowledge gaps remains. One key uncertainty concerns resilience and recovery, as different species and habitats may respond very differently to disturbance. Another challenge is the lack of baseline data, which makes it difficult to assess the magnitude of human impacts. Finally, long-term monitoring and international collaboration are needed to track changes and develop global conservation strategies. In conclusion, deep sea is the largest yet least understood ecosystem on Earth. It hosts remarkable biodiversity, but it's highly vulnerable to human activities and climate change. Advancement in technologies, scientific research, and global policy must work together to ensure responsible exploration and long-term conservation. Protecting deep sea ecology and deep sea biodiversity is not only an environmental issue, but also essential for maintaining the health of the entire ocean system. These are the references that I mentioned in this study. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope this presentation has helped highlight the importance of deep sea biodiversity and the urgent need to protect this unique and fragile ecosystem. Let's understand more and protect the deep sea. Thank you for your attention.